Good morning, everyone. How are you? This is Enrique Sanchez of Spanish United. Today we have a very special guest. Would you be kind enough to introduce yourself to the audience, please? Hello.
Hi, yes.
No, I asked, would you be kind enough to introduce yourself to the audience?
Oh, thank you, Enrique. Sorry, it went away, the connection for a second. Yes, so my name is Eydi Cavalieri. I am, I live in Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri. I'm the president of the Venezuelan Association, of course, besides my regular duties and job, right? So I
Welcome.
am a human resources professional as well. That's my regular job, right? That's my
Okay, welcome. Thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Yes, we spoke with the email. I reached out to you because I'm interested in learning more about the Venezuelan Association in Missouri and what do you guys do, and explain a little bit on how the Venezuelan Association in Missouri came into existence.
Absolutely. So the Venezuelan Association was established or basically registered back in 2001, and it was registered by 3 Venezuelans who live in the region at that point. They just saw basically a need of bringing all the Venezuelan community together. I can say at that point, the vision was to showcase the culture, to promote sports. And as the Venezuelan Association evolved, then they started to work with the Hispanic Scholarship Program, which remains to be part of our mission at this point. Now, when the Venezuelan Association started, it started with, let's say, a different group, right? A group of people who were here for a longer time frame. They were probably, or most of them were probably members that were either moved to the state because they had a job here. I mean, the company sponsored them to come here, or either because they had a family member, they started their life here. So definitely that point was a different situation where it was more into frequent gatherings, celebrations, small meetings. So up to the point of course, integrating the association into the Hispanic scholarships. At the point where we also had here in New Orleans an office for a consulate office, a representation. The consul came to Missouri for a while, so some services were provided to the community at that point. But again, it was a smaller group, very integrated into how can we say this? So they know each other pretty well, right? Having someone new come into the association was definitely their desire, but they had enough people participating where at that point they will not be worried, right, about what's the future of the association, what else do we do. It was a great effort at that point from everyone. We have one of the presidents of the associations for the first time that basically made this association active. He did a great job throughout the years, from president to treasurer to secretary. But as it was rotating, as of the years evolved, and as we see how the community is changing, as of October last year, we started to see that there was also a need to redefine the mission of the association and start understanding how the community is evolving and what are the community needs, right? So definitely what I wanted to highlight is there was a huge work put together from the point that the association started until now. But as we go and as we see the new reality, it is time for the association as well to adjust, right? And to bring value to our community. So a couple of things that we definitely identified is the need of education within the community that, or the immigrants that are arriving. It is the need of redesigning our mission in a way where culture is showcased to the full community here, not only Venezuelans, right? Not only having a meeting where we're expecting Venezuelans to come in and get together, also a meeting where as a community, we understand part of our culture, but what else can we bring to the community? How can we work together? So again, there are a lot of new initiatives right now. So with education, how we as a board ambition this year is try to give more or try to help the new immigrants and the community already here to basically be knowledgeable about principles of living in US, right? From understanding how a bank account should be managed to what's the credit system, why do I pay taxes, why it is important to pay taxes. But not only also that, is also how do we now educate the community to understand even at work, right? What are the common norms? What should I do? What I should not do? What in my culture is okay to do, but coming here it might not be as good as what I used to say or do back in when I live in Venezuela, right? So to me, and I think the board is on board with this, is education is the key to be welcome whenever you go, right? So I think that if you make an impact as people when they come early here and you help them to understand the dynamics in the community, the society, and what the expectations are, it will be probably you will make them or you will help them to be successful, right, in what they do, regardless of what they came here or what they come here to do. You could be working in a restaurant and you will be the great person in the kitchen, right?
Of
You'll be working in an office and you will be extremely successful and engaged just because you understand what is expected from you. So to me, that part of education, development, community, it is important, but also the side of telling the community, hey, we're here eager to learn, we're here eager to adapt, and there are certain ways where you cannot avoid X or Y experience that is bad, but it happens within every single
society.
Yeah, society or groups, right? Or social group or any group. So it's not only to target one individual group because this is the amount of people that is coming from this country, or because this is the amount of people or population we have from this certain group. No, I think that education is all to avoid that type of situation. So with our activities, we have different activities during the year. We have a sancocho. This year we're getting ready. It's a new activity. We're going to celebrate Venezuelan Day, October the 7th, and it's going to be a big park here. And the county actually is extremely happy to have this type of events. But what what do we want to bring to the event? We want to bring a sport, we want to bring education, we want to bring
Mhm.
our cuisine, right? But we also want to share what is the Venezuelan doing here, and what's the impact that it has to our economy and our society. So that's going to
Mhm.
be part of that event, right?
Mhm.
Again, just to showcase our value to our community. So there are a couple of things as we redesign the view of the association that we are trying to do. Um, we are adding webinars. We're having a partnership with other organizations. So as we see, the association is a liaison in between many other nonprofit organizations
Mhm.
that provide with resources, right?
Mhm.
We cannot tell you that we're going to provide with economical help to someone in particular, but
Mhm.
the way that we are redesigning our webpage and everything that we're doing is thinking and adding information for people that is just coming in and people that
Mhm.
need resources, right? And
That's
that
awesome.
is, yeah,
Yeah,
and that is,
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, no, no, and that is another vision that we have when we started to think in October, what do we want to do? Part of that is we really need a very strong person in social media.
Mhm.
So I realize our director of social media right now, and it's like,
Mhm.
how do we bring the community together? But how do we give them resources? If
Mhm.
they come here, they have questions about housing. They have questions about where do I find for the first month food, or how do I sign up my kid for school? So that's how we started to think, how do we want our web page to be a resource for that, right? So those are a couple of things that we have been doing, being a little bit stronger in social media to say, hey, we're here. We want to integrate you to the community. We want to get to meet you and see. I think that when you listen from people, you understand their needs, right?
Mhm. Right,
So
of course. Yeah,
right.
that's one of the things that I think is very important because one of the things that we do in Spanish United is that we emphasize on the portion of civil rights, human rights, and also dealing with helping people that are destitute, the homeless. Like, for example, we do a lot of outreach with the homeless by bringing food, water, medicine, and supplies. But at the same time, we also refer people to services because, as you know, Hispanics, regardless of their immigrants or American born, a lot of them have fallen through the cracks. And even though we're the largest minority, we tend to be invisible when it comes to many areas, when it comes to social services and to the economy. So one of the things that we do is that we try to orientate Hispanics in cases, for example, that they need like social services or housing or even areas of human rights, and that's what we do. And I also wanted to emphasize that I think that's very important that you mentioned education, because one of the things that we do in Spanish United is that we emphasize education. And I think education is the passport to the future, and it also helps Hispanics have a better life. You know, as you know, many Hispanics culturally were not brought up that education is important, and I feel that it has been detrimental in the advancement and the success to the Hispanic community, because there's other groups, immigrant groups, or let's say other groups of people that have been here for less time than Hispanic people have, but yet they're able to succeed, and primarily has to do because of education. You know, because people could take away your money or your assets, but they cannot take away your knowledge. And I think that, you know, if Hispanics have education as their primarily basis, I think it's going to help them a lot in the long run. At the same time, it will help them to adapt and be better people, because one of the things that the stigma that many people have about Hispanics in the United States has to do that we're not seen as educated people. So that is something that, you know, I want to strive and change in the Hispanic community, that I encourage particularly like the youth to go to college, to try to have a better standard instead of just settling, because I think when people settle, uh, they don't really have much opportunities for advancing. Like, as with any community group, it's fine if you start at the bottom, working your way up, but it's not something, it's not a place where that you stay there long term. You know, you move up eventually. And I think that's very important that other Hispanic groups work together, because I feel that as a collective consciousness, I think Hispanics can have a bigger impact if Hispanics come together as a collective group instead of being like individual, like countries or nationalities. And one of the things that Spanish United does is I reach out not only to different groups outside of the Hispanic community, but also to other groups within the Hispanic community. Like, for example, I have reached out to people in the Peruvian community. I've reached out to people, and this is in the Mexican community, the Puerto Rican community. I am Puerto Rican myself, and I feel it's very important that there needs to be Hispanic unity and Hispanidad, especially in the United States, because it doesn't matter where we come from, we're all considered Hispanic in this country. And I feel that as we work together for a common cause, I think we could have a better impact and a better influence among our people in the United States, both immigrants and native born.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's part of what we're doing as well. It's a big change this year, and I'm very happy to see that organizations and associations, as you said, we have associations here. We have the Colombian Association, we have the Puerto Rican Association, we have the Bolivian Association, Ecuadorian Association. So I am very happy to say that as of last year, we really understood that there is a need to work together, and this is basically just confirming what you just said. The more you work together, the best that you reach, or that you can reach out to your community and help. And an example of that, in November we had a winter clothes drive, and it was open to all the community, all the Latino Hispanic community, but it was not only open to them, it was open to anyone that had a need of a coat or winter clothes. So again, because we want to look at that integration, all the communities have a need. It's not only one person, it's not only one community. And when you work together, you realize that you become stronger, right? And even as a partnership, or the way that we can do things, and the way that we can reach out to educate more people, working together is a better way to do it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You bring more enrichment that way. I'm very happy and pleased to say that we have been working with a lot of organizations here, and the way that we have been welcomed is extremely encouraging to continue doing what we're doing.
Oh, absolutely. And especially that we are living in a time that there's a lot of Hispanophobia and anti-Hispanic sentiment. So I think that is very crucial that you guys and the Hispanic community at large can be seen as a positive force. Because, like, forgive me for interrupting, but one of the things that I also believe is that Hispanics, have to be educated in terms of being more generous, because the stereotype and the stigma that people have of Hispanics is that we take and we don't give. And I think if, like you said, you have like more outreach where Hispanics are seen as givers, I think that's going to not only create more harmony with other people, but at the same time, it will give it a better image of the Hispanic community, that we are people that give, that we're generous, that we're not just people that we just take and we don't give. So I think that's very important. But again, it has to be taught. It has to be taught, especially from the younger age, and those that are like recent immigrants, that when you come to a country, it's expected that you give back to the host country that you're living in, not just take. So I think that's very crucial in improving the image of the Hispanic community at large.
Absolutely. That's I call it a sensitive topic. Because I think, and again, we go back to education. if we go back to see and I'm not probably going to touch on too much on this. This is AV opinion. This is not the association opinion, right?
Hmm.
But as we see more people coming into our country with different ways of thinking and different types of government structure and what they are used to, what they grew in, right? They sometimes you expect to receive and not to give, but it's not your fault. It's how you were raised and what you
Hmm.
saw, right? So again, if we early start educating into giving back, as you said,
Hmm.
that's very important. And that's one of the conversations that as a board we always have. When in October we had certain needs and we were contacted with certain people that had needs and they were extremely I mean, it's the first time, just to be honest with you, in the state that we see those cases where you said, "Oh, we have someone they didn't have food, they didn't have where to sleep, they didn't have where to stay." Right at that point, as a community, you have people with great hearts saying, "I'll give you this, I'll give you that. I pay for this many days of hotel, I pay for this," but what we are not doing in many cases is saying, okay, we help you for 6 months. So now is the time for you at the point of 6 months to a year to give back, right? If you came here, you're very successful. If you found a place to stay, you settle for a second. Now it's time for you to think back and start giving back. So when we have conversations, we always say we can help, but at a certain point, all nonprofits needs to educate the population into if you're good now and you're doing good now, how are you going to give back? You're
Hmm.
going to give back to someone that doesn't mean money, right?
Right, of course. It means donating your time, volunteering.
Time, what I don't use, driving someone to another place. Um, I can talk to you about a case we had October, November, and probably a little bit earlier than that. And no, yes, it was probably in March last year. And I can tell you that I'm so proud of those three particular individuals because as of today, they still write to us. They still check in with us. How are you doing? How can I help? They have volunteer every time that we need
Hmm.
things. And that's something that sometimes it is, you have it on you, right?
Hmm.
It grows on you, but sometimes those are things that as a community we also need to teach, right?
Hmm.
Because it's wonderful to give, but we need to also educate in how do we give back.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like, for example, I live in Southern California and I live about 30 minutes away from an area that's called San Gabriel Valley, which is predominantly Chinese. The cities, it's the cities of Arcadia, Monterey Park, Alhambra, to pretty much all that area is like enclaves of Chinese. And I go there like once a month to do work and stuff out there. And one thing that I admire about the Chinese community is not only are they successful people, but they also give heavily to their community. And like you said, it's not just giving finances, it's also donating their time. It's putting up community centers and resources for the people, and not only to benefit the Chinese, but also to benefit other people. And that will also create a positive perception of the people. And again, that's a model that I'm basing Spanish United on, because I feel that there are many Hispanic communities in the United States that are majority Hispanic, like cities or towns, that I see the complete opposite, that they don't have the resources and the community centers. And again, like you said, they don't have the education. And unfortunately, it just creates a lot of problems in terms of a identity.
Mhm.
And I feel that it's very important that that Hispanics that are successful, instead of just leaving the community and just forgetting about, you know, where they come from, they could give back by, again, like establishing centers, donating their time, volunteering, and also being an example to others. Because that's one thing that I feel that in many communities we lack, is not just only resources, but also leadership and role models. So, you know, on my end, I'm training and educating local leaders of different chapters of Spanish United, so that way they can reach out to different Hispanic communities that are in need. Because I think it's very important that when you educate the young and also look after those that can't take care of themselves, it is something that has a lasting impact for generations to come.
Absolutely. And you touch on as well on one of the points where, if you remember when I started, I said
Mhm.
the association started with a small group, right? That's the group that was in the community at that point, which might be probably easier to be identified. And that is a very strong group, very educated group. So part of the mission that we're having this year is trying to inspire them to spread the voice, right? In the way that if you go to mass, if you go to any church you go, if you go to a community event, and you see people, Hispano, Latino people that could benefit from our programs, spread the voice. It's not hard, but we tend to say, "Oh, I have been here for 20 years. They just came in, and so I don't want to mix, or I don't want to help, or I don't have time to do that,
Mm.
or I have been here for so many years because I have been here for so many years. Um, they just came in, and I don't know how they came in. I don't know what they have. I don't know how they are here.
Mhm.
It's not going to hurt anyone, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't matter how you are here, how you came, how you arrived, for how long have you been here. What you need to have is a sense of community, right?
Exactly.
And when you help, talking about activities, when you help to route people to the right place, to places that can help them, or even to take 10 minutes to guide them into any questions they might have, that's how you start helping, right? So instead, making a distinction, because then we go back to exactly what probably happened in some countries where the social status was so strong that people felt probably alienated, right?
Mhm.
Or behind, or not welcome.
Mhm.
So if we're gonna continue that here, that's not gonna help us, right?
Of course, and I feel that in order to keep a Hispanic community alive, you have to instill the identity of being Hispanic. One thing that I see in the United States, that unlike other racial and community groups, you know, Hispanics were not a race, were an ethnicity. So
Mhm.
depending on how a Hispanic person look like, they will tend to identify with either Caucasian Americans and African Americans, but they don't identify as Hispanic American. And unfortunately, that creates like a identity crisis for the younger generation. And I
Mhm.
feel that in order to preserve the Hispanic identity, there needs to be an emphasis on Hispanic pride and Hispanic culture, and most importantly, the Hispanic language. So that's the only way you're going to keep Hispanic community from keeping its values, but at the same time, keeping itself from not disappearing, becoming extinct.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what people don't realize, sometimes people, I think that there is more a worry of being called an immigrant, or being discriminated
Mhm.
instead just thinking, what can I do different?
Exactly.
So I am seeing a different and positive,
Hmm.
and adding value to my community. So there is no reason why I should be discriminated, right?
Right.
But to do that, you have to be proud of also the heritage you have.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
like I always tell my friends, I don't understand why if you're so fluent in Spanish, your kids do not speak Spanish, right?
Hmm.
So and it's just a plus. And sometimes even in school, it's like my daughter tells me, yeah, they called me Hispanic the other day. And I said, well, you have a Hispanic heritage, but when it comes to people, just if they do it in a positive way, just embrace it. If they do it in a negative way, just tell them, well, my plus is that I know two languages, I learn and I know and I can interact with different cultures because that's how I was raised. So that's a
Hmm.
plus. That's not a negative thing, right?
Hmm. Right.
So sometimes the crisis in identity comes when I think that the actual adult has a crisis and is sharing that with their kids instead of embracing what you have, be proud of it, do a great thing for the community. And now
Hmm.
you can show I can adapt here, I can do great things here, but I can preserve my heritage inside my house, and that's a value, that's a plus too.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because like I said, with the Asians in general, there have been Asians that have been here since the beginning of the founding of the United States, and they still keep their customs, their culture, and they're not ashamed of who they are. And I think that Hispanics need to do the same thing, because if they're able to do it and they've been here for less time than we have, I think we could do the same, but also impact in a positive way. Because again, one of the reasons why people have discrimination against Hispanic people in general has to do because of stereotypes for different reasons. And the best way to dispel a stereotype is, like you said, embracing the positive aspects, and just fighting that prejudice through education. Like, yes, it is true, there are some people within our community that are this way, but I'm not this way, and I'm educating my children or my community to be the opposite. So I think that's very important. I was going to tell you, I have about a couple of minutes left. I just wanted to wrap up real quick. I would love to do like a type of partnership with the Venezuelan Association in Missouri in the future, and possibly do events, work with you. And
Mhm.
I think it's very important that Hispanic organizations work together, because I think it shows a lot of strength. And I wanted to thank you so much for being on the show. It's been an honor to have you. And for your listeners on your side, if anyone wants to reach out or to donate to Spanish United, you can reach us out on social media, on Spanish United, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And you know, if anyone that has any questions, feel free to reach out to me through those mediums. And as soon as I'm done with the interview here, I will send you the link as soon as possible. Thank you so much for being on the show, Eydi. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you, Enrique. I really appreciate it. And again, I enjoy the conversation with you. And I hope that we can overcome all our biases as a community, put a positive impact in everyone out there. And that definitely we work in educating our community to be successful. We all had the opportunity to be here.
Absolutely. And one of the things that our motto in Spanish United is culture over color. So culture is very important. It transcends color, religion, and all walks of life.
Absolutely. Well, looking forward to work with you in the future. And thank you so much for this space.
Likewise, have yourself a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.